welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Jessica Clemens. I'm a board certified psychiatrist. You can call me Dr. Jess. And today's video is, well, we're gonna talk about 1 year in the pandemic. March 2021 marked 1 year that we have all experienced social distancing, and in some cases people have been experiencing lockdown. So today I'm going to talk about my personal sort of experience, my thoughts, share a few tips that I've sort of uncovered and discovered during this time. And then the second part of the video, which I'll release a little bit later this week, will be those same sort of perspectives, thoughts, tips through my lens as a psychiatrist. So be sure to subscribe, share this video, like, comment, share a little bit in the comments actually about what your experience has been as well. I want this to be a community that grows and grows and grows. So we're all in this together. All right. Now, as I said before, 1 year into the pandemic, who first of all would even have thought that we would be living in this? It's still very difficult sometimes for me to wrap my head around it, but here we are. So the biggest thing that changed for me during the pandemic was I became a mother. So my baby's actually about to be 1 year old, so it really puts in perspective that this is something that has been going on for a really long time. Back to my experience as a mother and becoming it, I'll start by saying it's an incredible sort of experience to get to have, and it's also one that is exciting, stressful, and really requires a lot of deep digging. And having this experience during the pandemic, I think, really puts me in a place that I wasn't expecting to be, right? In 2019, I'm sort of planning all of these things that I'll do with my baby, all of the family that he'll get to meet, and none of that really happened. So briefly, I'll tell you a little bit about what did happen. So one of the things that did come out of the pandemic is getting to have my baby at home, being like an actual home birth. Yes. I don't think it's something that I probably would have done if it were not for the pandemic, and a lot of my thoughts around that time, it was early April, so things were really just starting to unfold, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty around COVID-19 and what effects it would have. So for me, safety was really this overarching theme, and I think that experience really was a part of what led me to get to a place where I'm like, this is the best decision and the safest place that I would feel birthing my child. So that was something that came out of this that I don't think I would have experienced if it were not for the pandemic. The other thing is I really got to spend every single moment with my baby from the time he was born, and still to this day. My husband as well. Many people had to start working from home. Obviously, those who are essential and frontline, were not able to, because the type of work that they do really involved, not being able to do that from, the safety of your home. But I was privileged to be able to do that. And so I got to spend all of this time with my baby, and I think the bond will be completely unbreakable. But I also sometimes wonder if that will put me in a place where things will feel a little bit scary the first time I do, have to be separated from him. I've done like a few trips to the grocery store on my own, but beyond that, really every moment is spent together. So that's also been something really interesting too. The other big transition for me was I completely shifted to working from home. Working from home has been an entirely new experience. When I went to med school and residency, everything was done 100% in person. And telemedicine or telepsychiatry was this very niche area that people who lived in rural areas could hopefully get access to. Anyhow, here we are in the pandemic. I previously was working in an office, seeing patients in a hospital setting. And then immediately, when I did return to work, following maternity leave, I immediately, started seeing people virtually. So I really enjoyed getting to work in this way. I didn't think it was something that I would, but I think it's also, again, an opportunity for me to spend more time with my baby, and also really use all of my time wisely. So, there's no longer the commute. You're just sort of commuting within your home. So that's actually been really neat too. But it's also been really interesting because I get to connect with people and see into their homes and get a sense of like what their daily experience is really like. I've personally been grateful to have a job that I can do, work remotely, and I don't feel like I'm offering anything less than I would if it were in person. And I think at the end of the day, I don't feel as sort of drained, whether it's that commute again or, you know, just timing things in a way that's very different when you can work remotely. So that's been a huge transition for me personally during the pandemic. Now, my hope for my personal goal for the next year is, you know, to keep growing this work that I've done publicly as Dr. Jess. I've actually had so many opportunities that really came out of the pandemic. I've been, you know, asked to speak on a number of national television networks to provide perspective as a psychiatrist. I'll save more of those details for that perspective, but just, you know, as a person getting to ultimately live out a dream, it's been really rewarding, and it's been really I feel very lucky to be able to do this work in that way and reach so many people. I've also been working really hard to finish out my first book, so it'll be coming very, very soon. And so that's another huge personal sort of milestone that's come out of this. One thing that I really hope to get into more with time and sort of, you know, just again, many hats, is there's so many books that I want to pick back up and read. So I'll be sharing that here and also over on my Instagram, because, you know, I definitely have spent a lot of time, probably like most people, watching all the movies and everything on Netflix. So now it's time for me to sort of, you know, shift a little bit. And the top 3 tips that I have from a personal reflection on the last year in the pandemic is, 1, keep things in perspective. I think for me, being able to take each day as it comes, appreciate the good things that I have, sort of distance myself from the things that have been difficult. That's been a way to sort of help me to really maintain a sense of stability during this time. And it's hard doing it as a parent to, you know, like an infant, and it's a challenge. So that's something that I do that really helps me. The second thing I'll say for people is it's also going to be really important to prioritize rest. I think, you know, at least for me, that is something that if I don't get enough rest, I notice that I'm like irritable, I'm just, you know, a little bit more edgy. Rest. That is something that I try my best to prioritize. And when I do get really, really great sleep, I feel the difference. So this year has definitely taught me that. And I'll say the last tip is just really the important role that our friends and family in maintaining that sense of connection is. I mean, again, I don't know where I'd be without so many of those key people in my life, but I also know that if I'm not investing in it, especially in this time when we're at home and like, you ain't got nothing else to do, so what are you doing? You know, I think if we're not doing it when things do go back to some level of normalcy, it's gonna seem sort of strange to be like, hey, although people probably will be in the mood to spend a lot of time together. So for me, it's that sense of community is really, really important. And so I want to encourage people out there for this next year, whatever may happen, to really invest in your community as well. And so I'm Dr. Jess. Thank you for tuning in for my 1-year reflection on the many roles that I've sort of played in 2020 and the full year of living in the pandemic. If you like this video, please share, subscribe if you haven't already, like it, comment, and be sure to come back, as I said, to check out part 2, where I share my perspective as a psychiatrist on 1 year in the pandemic. You are not your pain, you are love. Be well.